Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Geek Show for February 2024. This month, we've got Candice, Eric, and Steven. Steven's got a bunch of new titles he's going to tell us in a moment. I'm pretty excited about. I'm just the director of media at BGG, and I do Game Night Show. Candice does a lot of great news stuff and a bunch of great shows on BGG, and Eric does his news and his, videos mostly every week. So it's pretty exciting. So let's start off with Steven. What's your new stuff here? What do we got? New titles.
I am the chairman of the board of the new publisher Play2Z.
Oh,
Zev Schlosinger being the president of the company. I'm a member of the board of directors for the World Series of Board Gaming, and you find me all over social media as the Podfather of gaming. And don't forget, Board Games Insider, my long-running podcast, is now powered by BoardGameGeek.
Finally,
I'm on the network. Yes.
I guess I didn't make it to the 300th episode. I was there and I spoke, but sadly, somebody dropped the ball. I guess I don't know.
There was a problem with the video on that, but the audio was okay.
Fun. No big deal. It was good to be there, though. It was fun. I've never watched one of them, so I've only listened, and I was shocked by all the people. Now I know there were more people there because it was the 300th, but it was still I was like, wow, there's so many people, and it all ended so quickly. I'm like, oh, I get it. This is the audience. That's pretty cool. That's actually a great idea.
We actually don't do that anymore. We just do just 1 hour. That was just a special thing for the 300th episode. We just do 1 hour audio or video with Ignacy Chevicek, president of Portal Games, and Corey Thompson, and from Above Board TV. And we go through the news and take questions from our guild on Board Game Geek. So we're really excited to be part of Powered by Board Game Geek now.
I hope it's going well. I was following the comments. Somebody was saying that we get to see two retired guys argue who travels more. Which I think
there was some of that.
Well,
there's a little bit of that.
Let's start with the news, Eric. What have you got for us? I know one. I imagine one of your pieces of news, and I'm really sad because I will chime in on that.
Okay. Well, let's see. 3 things I wanted to talk about. So one, there's a game coming from a German publisher, Wonderbow Games, called Kelp from Carl Robinson. And it's their second game they're coming out with. They kickstarted it at the end of 2023, raised more than €1 million, and then copies started showing up for sale before the end of 2023. Counterfeit copies, because
that is strange.
They haven't even finished the design, development. Nothing's been produced. But copies are out there. They were on Amazon and eBay and some other just random retail sites, and people would buy them, and they would get something that was not the quality of a published, modern published game. The prototype that Wonderbow had depicted had a Lego shark in it to represent the shark that would be coming in the game. And the counterfeiters just included Lego sharks because they didn't, I guess, knock off Lego sharks too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty... counterfeiting is an issue, but usually at least the game is out on the market. Although this made it, in a way, easier to catch because
what game is this again?
Selling right now?
Kelp.
It's a 2-player game. One player is an octopus, and the other is a shark. And the shark is trying to eat the octopus, and the octopus is trying to avoid the shark for a while. It's very cool.
So why was this game a target of this? I mean, is it highly anticipated? I didn't really know about this.
They did not detail how they think it was. The publisher did not detail how they think it was copied or where it was picked up. The game was available on Tabletop Simulator, so gameplay is available. The rules are available. It's not clear whether you just, I don't know, someone saw it in passing, prototype image, and they're just like, I could probably do that. And just looked at, no idea.
While this is really terrible, of course, for a publisher and the designers, they may be getting some decent amount of publicity out of this, and therefore, once they have this beautiful game that I assume they're going to have, then it's going to just crush the counterfeiters, the jerks that are doing that. So maybe in the end, maybe there'll be lemons out of lemonade, lemonade out of lemons.
They mentioned that they had pulled down dozens of listings. Anyone could report that this is a fraudulent listing because the game will not be available until, I believe, October 2024. So,
wow.
Yeah. it's months in advance. So it's good publicity maybe for awareness of the game, but of course now you've got another 8 months before it's actually available. So
right.
Yep.
Awareness drops over time. But in any case, that's kind of interesting just because,
For sure.
yeah, counterfeiting is a huge thing. We're talking with Tony Galati at Czech Games Edition, where he's talking about the shelf of counterfeit code names that he has.
Wow.
He just has them, tons of them, because code names is, for the most part, paper.
Right. Yeah, card games I know are usually the easier thing.
Timers for the duo one. Yeah, it's mostly just paper. So, okay, it's easy to knock off, and so he does various things to try to keep track of where they pop up for sale, and so he can figure out what's legit and not.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big issue.
It's a big problem.
Another thing sort of interesting is just like how games transform into new versions. So there's a trick-taking game, The Bottle Imp by Gunther Cornet.
I saw that.
It came out in, I think, 96. It's a fantastic trick-taking game.
I published it.
Yes, I was going to get there.
Sorry.
It's essentially you're trick-taking and you're bidding on a bottle. And the longer you hold the bottle, the more points you can win from the cards you collect. But if you hold the bottle at the end of the round, you lose points instead. So you have to hopefully ditch it to someone else with prices below the value of the bottle being trumped. So it's like a very cool thematic rendering of it. And Matago has announced a new edition. Yeah, Stronghold Games had the edition with Lotto Pellets back in the 2010s. Matago's announced a new edition with now 5 and 6 rules for 5 and 6 players, where they've introduced cards that have 0.5 on them. So you'll have 32.5. So the price range stays the same, and you're inserting more cards in between. So kind of interesting with team rules, but now it has a different listing in the BGG database. So it's like the same game, but now it's separated because it's got new rules and new components for more people. It's frustrating to me for things like that. Along with a new edition of Keystone North America from Rose Gauntlet Games.
For 1 and 2.
Sorry, Rose Gauntlet Entertainment. So it's a game by Isaac Vega and Jeffrey Joyce. It came out last year. I think they published the first edition after it had been crowdfunded in 2022. And it was a 2 to 4 player game. 1 to 4 player game, had solo rules. And now they're redoing it with less stuff as a 1 to 2 player game. So it'll lower the retail price on it. Because feedback that they heard from a lot of people was it's primarily a 2-player game. I don't like it maybe as much as with 3 and 4. Although you can buy 2 copies and play it before. So it's like the same but different. And it's just from a database perspective, it's really hard to figure out how to indicate that and connect them and make people know what they're getting. And if I look up Bottle Imp, what am I going to see? And is it the thing I want to see? Like it's very difficult to do that. Publishers drive us nuts.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at Jekyll versus Hyde, and then there was a new one, but that it's cooperative. We were talking about yesterday because we played Dracula versus Van Helsing, and we're like, well, there was that other one from Mandu, and then we found out. I'm like, oh, there's a new version, and it's not the same thing. So I now have to get both of them probably because it's kind of exciting that there's a cooperative one as well.
Yeah, it's
Jekyll versus Hyde versus Scotland Yard. I think is the most recent,
new one.
the cooperative one. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And the other thing, actually, it involves Stronghold as well. And I thought Stephen maybe could elaborate on something here. So Wolfgang Warsch's dice games, Ganz schön clever, and doppelt so clever, so twice as clever, and that's pretty clever, are out in new editions now from publisher CMYK. And he's also doing the 3rd and 4th volumes. He's doing the Clever Kid, that's Pretty Clever Kids version. And I gotta tell my wife to stop texting. I keep hearing dings on here. So he's doing those editions, and the first 2 are on the market, and the other ones are coming soon. So how does this work, Stephen? When you are licensing a game from another publisher, what are the normal sort of parameters for how long a publisher has it when they're licensing it, and then when does the license stop? I assume there's a wide variety of it, like it ends on times or it ends on copies sold or whatever it is.
There's no right answer to that question. It really could be a very wide number. All contracts have a time. You have to have a time. Most of them are auto renewing based on a set of parameters, but either party after X period of time, let's say 3 years, that's kind of fairly common, can say, I would like, with 6 months notice or something like that, I'm going to exercise my option to take back the rights to do something else with the game. Now, if the game is doing really well, tremendously well, you don't do that. You'll just never do that. But I'm sure that it ran the course maybe with what Stronghold indie game studios could do. And now Wolfgang's getting his license back and he's going to do something bigger maybe with another company. I think it's not as uncommon as it might seem. Mostly it's because of the way that, a smaller company can only do X with a license, but a company like Asmodee or a bigger company sometimes can really exploit a license in a material way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting just to see things hop from one to another. And of course, gamers want speculation like, what happened? What went wrong? Why are they changing this, that, and the other? And usually, of course, it's for 1,000 reasons that, there's no
gamers
one
do
thing.
not know.
Yeah, doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the game, for sure.
Absolutely.
I thought you were going to talk about the
games.
new Ganshun Clever with the dice tower and all that stuff, and the new laminated sheets and stuff. That's exciting.
There is a deluxe version of Ganshun. So Ganshun Clever Deluxe. It is out, but apparently only in German. So let's not tease people. It has the base game, and then it has a new score sheet that sort of takes elements from all the different Clever games.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's got a dice tower built into the box. Right. So it's a way to get people to buy it again if they already have it, because it's got some new element here.
I think my copy is German, so I probably will just get another one. Let's see here. Order from Amazon DE.
Thanks for supporting Strongholding. I appreciate that.
I have the other ones I do have are in English because we were taught that one, I believe, and so we didn't have to worry about it. But once we got to the other ones, they got more complex. We wanted an English version, and we waited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you were out of the picture by the time I bought that third one. So there you go.
Teasing.
Yes. I know you are.
That's right. That's right. You just reminded me too. I think that Wolfgang Warsch is involved.
He's part of CMYK. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's part of the.
Right. Yes, that is actually his. That's actually his company now. I think
with Palm. Yeah, it's not just him. It's the monikers and Wavelength. Yeah, Alex Haig. Yeah.
So of course,
I mean that's this one,
there's
right?
a reason to pull it back.
I got this one we played here to show this one's CMYK as well. Daybreak from Matt Leacock and Mateo.
Is that our transition into games?
No, because we got more news here. I thought you had more news. If you don't, I got a little piece which is sad, but then I also want to get to the insider news.
Let's keep it brief here.
Yeah. Okay, what do you got?
I have a couple updates too.
Okay. What do you have, Stephen, well, let's go to Candice first, then we'll go to the inside.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Work our way down.
So
Candice is a little bit more above inside, so, in between the people and the inside.
Me.
So I guess in the historical gaming space, just this past weekend, February 3rd, I wasn't able to attend, but SD HisCon had a winter quarters online event. It was just like a one-day online con where there were like a bunch of panels, a bunch of demos of new games. I just saw some social media posts and it looked really cool. It's cool to see that online events like that are still kind of thriving as we're way post-pandemic now. But it's a way to connect people all around the world and just kind of highlight some new games. So segue from that is upcoming Circle DC is happening April 4th to the 7th. And that's a conference on history, education, and play. This is a small, very designer-centric historical game convention. One day I hope to make it, but Jason Matthews usually makes it, like Tori Brown, Volko Ruhnke, Elizabeth Hargrave. A lot of the designers from the DC scene are there. And this year they're doing it at the Planet Word Museum. And it is apparently the only museum in the country dedicated to renewing and inspiring a love of words and language.
Huh.
So it seems like a really interesting venue. And then I guess just bouncing back to the online convention, one of the ways that they were demoing games and playing games on there was through the website Rally the Troops. And I don't know how many people know about Rally the Troops, but, previously, like, Vassal was used as a way for a lot of people to play war games and historical games online. And it's kind of very antiquated, I guess. And Rally the Troops kind of stepped it up a notch, and more games are starting to come on there. It's almost like when we had this whole, like, everything's on Board Game Arena these days, and new games keep going onto Board Game Arena. Well, Rally the Troops has, like, PAX Premier. It has lighter games like 300 Earth and Water, Red Flag Over Paris, Votes for Women, but it just has a nice selection of historical games, and the interface is really cool. Like, I've played one game on there sometime last year. I played Time of Crisis and got crushed, but I really liked the interface of it. So, and then one more thing on the historical gaming front. I just got my copy that I P500'd of Tanto Manta. Oops, there we go.
Okay.
This
Gotta
is
take it out of
this
shrink.
is a yeah.
She just got
I'm
it.
not ready
Give her
yet.
a break.
Yeah, I got it like a couple weeks ago. It shipped.
It better be open.
But it's basically a 4-player prequel to Here I Stand. So it's like this big epic
Classic.
card-driven game, and it covers the reign of Catholic monarchs and the voyages of the Age of Discovery. So I'm very curious about that, because I know I've only played Here I Stand once. I loved it. I played it the full player count. This one being 4 players seems like it'll be a little easier to, get the full player count. It's still going to probably take, it's like an all day game, but I'm really curious about it and was excited about that. So those are some historical gaming updates.
Did you play Here I Stand with Aaron one time?
Yes,
I remember hearing about that.
He did some sneaky stuff. Yeah.
He's a tough player.
Yeah,
he loves card-driven games. He loves them.
Yeah,
he's
me
very
too.
good with them. Surprisingly
and
talented.
he was the only one that had that had played before, and he had lots of experience. And the game was like kind of slow. And by I think the 3rd or 4th round, we have this diplomacy phase. And all I know is, like, I was seeing people that I never expected to, like, talk to each other and be like wheeling and dealing. Everybody was making deals, but everybody was also aware, like, hey, Aaron knows this game, be careful. Yet we come out of that diplomacy phase. He had like 12 cards because he like got people. He was making deals with all these people, and we still couldn't see for a while. We were like, yeah, but how is he going to win? And then he started doing some stuff, and we're like, oh, that's how he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And it was cool because it was like, a learning game, and it wasn't 12 hours because we were like done by dinner time. So it kind of worked out.
That's cool.
But yeah, this is something that I would play with Aaron.
Yeah, I'm certain. Cool. Hey, Steven, Insider, what's going on?
Let's give you some of the news from the industry itself. So the biggest piece of news that came out over the last month since we did this was that Goliath,
this is the one that bums me out. Yeah,
acquired all of the game assets from Funko Games. Now, Funko is a huge company, and they're noted for those little bobble-headed
Some
people,
of them around
or whatever they
somewhere.
are. They're bobble. Yeah, they're everyone
Well,
sees them in
yeah.
all of the Spencer's type places and the gift shops and toy shops and all that. So they are very, very big into that. However, their foray into board gaming was met with issues. They had some very mediocre Kickstarters. Some of their games weren't as well received. So in general, they said, we're not making money in board games, and we're making tons and tons of money with these little silly little bobbleheady guys. So let's focus there. And they sold all of that to Goliath. Now, what might also be implied with that, and I might have heard a little more, is that Goliath is going to be making additional inroads into the North American market and potentially, trying to do the Asmodee or Hachette thing where they buy more and more companies or more and more assets and continue to grow, because they're not known as well here as they are in Europe, but they are certainly a very big company, and they have the assets, they have the capital to make these kinds of inroads. So it's not a good story for the people at Funko.
Yeah, they're all
gone.
on
The board game side.
I mean, most of
they're
them.
all gone. Yeah. But we'll see what happens with Goliath and how they deal with board gaming on a bigger basis and how they deal with the Funko assets.
Yeah.
The next one I have.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
please,
it's okay. It was just the downer is to lose that team. We played their games all the time, and we really look forward to their titles, and they made a lot of great stuff. We actually probably featured more Funko during this season than we've ever done. The most recent super exciting thing for me is when they picked up Big Boss, which is a game that was never released in the United States, and they did a fantastic job with the edition, and it was inexpensive, and it was everywhere. And so for it to end like that is a real drag. But I suspected that maybe Funko wanted something like Exploding Kittens. They all want something like Exploding Kittens. Anybody that has that, that acquires this type of thing. And the companies they buy are not that type of game company necessarily. Right. And so not having a massive hit. Now, I heard that Funko was actually profitable. Now, that may not be true, but
Funko board games?
Games, yeah. Yeah.
And they very well might have been, but if you think,
right.
and they're
it's not the same money, yes.
Public company, I think they're public. Like, so we could find out actually what their profitability is and whether or not they break it down by category, like board games.
It's a lot of IP, for them. That seems like that'd be expensive.
It's odd for all of us sometimes to hear that their board game division is profitable. Well, we got to get rid of it because they want to make this amount of money on every sale, every quarter in a division. They don't want to make this amount. So that's a thing with larger companies. They push things out when they're not profitable enough. They might be profitable, but they're not profitable.
Especially because it's, that had to be a high cost enterprise to run a gaming studio that was developing all the time. What were you going to say, Eric?
Mm-hmm. So I published something about this at the time, mid-January. They had recently published their third quarter financial results, and
there you go.
The sales for core collectible brands, that's all the pops, was $233 million. And then Loungefly brand, which I forget what that is. It's like
they make purses and backpacks and stuff like that.
There we go. That was $57.5 million. And then other brands is $22 million. So
and that's everything else they do.
Yeah.
1/10 of the core collectible brands.
Sure.
So you just think about how big Funko is at that point. Almost $250 million in top line revenue for those pops.
Yeah.
That's just a sick amount of money. Yeah. Why should they bother with
they've been
something
struggling.
That's making them?
They had to destroy a bunch of. They supposedly burned or something. I don't know what they did with a bunch of pops. That they
had a lot of inventory.
Yeah.
If you dug into their financial reports, they had talked about how a year ago they had this amount of inventory that was just sitting
there. Yeah.
And so you're in the desert. There you go.
Yeah.
Eric, you're doing the insider thing. I love it. I love digging into financial reports. I love that.
It is not my background at all. So it's a challenge reading some of this stuff.
I have actually done that quite a bit on some of the bigger players. I look into the Embracer financial reports and things like that often. And I did it when Simon was going public. And change. Actually, they were always public, almost. They were changing their stock exchange.
Structure.
They were upgrading their stock exchange to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, which is a major stock exchange. So I do that, and it's kind of mind-numbingly boring. Yeah, for fun. Fun.
No,
so the next thing is
That tells you a lot about the industry, or at least it gives you some idea of the scale that we're talking about. Right, yeah. Because Goliath is not it's a public company, it's private. It's a Dutch company. It's been in the same family, I believe, for like 70 years.
Wow.
I forgot I was writing about that. Anyway.
Well, they seem to be acquiring games because, they took over Green Team Wins. They were doing Fireball Island and things like that for mass market, I think, ultimately. Right. So we'll see where they go. Because I think their Rummy Cube, right, was their big thing that has financed this forever.
That's because they bought Pressman. Pressman had Rummy Cube, and they bought Pressman. I forget when it was.
Cool. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Steven.
So speaking of scale and how big some of these companies are and coming into the tabletop industry, not necessarily board games in this case, an insider at a company that not everybody has heard of called Tencent. Oh, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Tencent, I think, yeah.
Tencent. There it is. Not 50 cent. This is Tencent. Got it. An insider revealed that they are in negotiations with Hasbro to acquire the rights for electronic game adaptations of D&D. And this came directly from a Japanese website, which I then painstakingly translated with my amazing Japanese fluency. Google Translate is your friend. Yeah. But it was also translated directly onto another website. The first one I said was Speed-Daily, and this one was pandaily.com. So they gave you exactly what's going on here, that they're looking to purchase the rights. Now, people were like going crazy. Oh, yeah, this is just another story that D&D is being sold by WotC. That's not the case. But what is the case is that Tencent, which is a huge company, a tremendous company, dwarfs like Asmodee, and dwarfs like Embracer, Asmodee's parent. This is a $330 billion company, huge in the video game space. It's 100 times Embracer's size. And they're looking to acquire the digital rights because, well, A, it would be huge for them to get it. B, WotC, Hasbro, is having issues. By the way, they are approximately a $7 billion company. So you can't Hasbro. You say, Hasbro, my God, it's so big. It's a $7 billion company. That's pretty damn big. But Tencent is $330 billion. So you can see the scale we're talking about here. And if this happens, and again, it's not board games, but it's tabletop. So I like to talk about this kind of stuff too, that if they do this, this is going to transform the digital space for the D&D IP, which is going to be kind of interesting.
For sure. I mean, I wonder what that will do to other. I wonder if they'll have exclusive rights. I mean, because there's plenty of D&D stuff out there already, and maybe that.
Again, it wasn't continue. Obviously. This is an insider giving a little bit of info, but it sounds like they are buying the rights, exclusive rights, because it would suck to spend all this money, hand it over, and then other people are doing D&D electronic, adaptations.
There's some major franchises, for sure that are doing that. So I don't know. Interesting.
Right. And the only other thing I'll mention, if it's okay, is I'm going to mention quickly GameFound. This I believe this got published today on Polygon. And GameFound had an unbelievable year. They doubled their revenue, almost doubled their revenue year over year. And Kickstarter has shown year over year over the last few years going down. So GameFound is now, for their total crowdfunding, $56 million, while Kickstarter is now, air quote, only $226 million. So they've made huge inroads into the crowdfunding industry, specifically, of course, GameFound does game projects. Yeah. And then, of course, we haven't even mentioned BackerKit, crowdfunding by BackerKit, which is not as big as either of these two, I don't believe. They do not publicize what they have, but they've got some pretty big projects there. They had the Gloomhaven Grand Festival project and things like that. So anybody who's not following what's happening on GameFound might want to think about that, because a lot of projects are going there and a lot of money is being raised on that platform as well.
Yeah, I read an article. I don't. Go ahead, Eric. You probably have better view.
No, no.
Justin, I do.
Well, I was just going to follow up. I know that Hasbro has denied any sale of D&D to Tencent. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
the previous article. Yeah. No, but again, it's IP rights, not selling it. Absolutely not selling it. That's not part of this equation. But they're going to give them the rights to do. And think about that for a moment. Depends on how you want to phrase the wording. They're going to be our digital platform from now on. So go ahead, Tencent.
That's right.
Make those D&D games, right? So it sounds a lot better for Hasbro than like, well, we're selling them the IP rights.
That's right. Hasbro, powered by Tencent.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody can spin things whichever way they want. And I bet it's going to end up being like that. But seriously, Hasbro's market capitalization now is half what it was about a year or a half ago. They were a $15 billion company. They're now a $7 billion company. So they're taking it on the chin on the mass.
I mean, is some of this
the only part that's
is this some of this because of the pandemic? I mean, there's been a lot of contraction with publishing. I mean, I believe Kickstarters is also the same thing. Plenty of people probably during the pandemic are like, oh, I could make a game. And they kickstart a game because you saw that escalation, and the value that they're on now is like the same as it was before the pandemic, right? It should hopefully grow, but with competition, obviously it won't be as great. But it doesn't seem like that it's necessarily as gloom and doom as is being portrayed.
In hobby gaming, we are definitely in a going, at a either a bit of a contraction, or we're just moving forward at the same level. We're not in the explosive multi-digit percentage growth as we were, 5 and 10 years ago. It's not gloom and doom. I think we're going to see more companies leaving. We are going to see that, but the strong companies will survive. Board gaming is here to stay, and hobby board gaming specifically is here to stay. Hasbro's taking it on the chin mostly from their mass market. They're just not selling Monopoly anymore. Sure. And guess what people are buying?
Yeah.
They're buying these games sitting over here on my table, these beautiful games.
And the ones behind you too.
And the Boeing with the door blowing out.
Yeah.
Just cruising along. So, and the other, just to follow up with Goliath, they bought Pressman in 2014. In 2017, they bought Jax, which owns Sequence. So this is all like super mainstream stuff.
Super mass market. Really, some people would be unkind to say the games aren't good, but it's very, very mass market. But this would obviously be a purchase to potentially come more heavily into hobby gaming.
Although also mass market, because Funko was totally mass market. Everything was sold there.
Yeah, pretty much. They didn't do too many titles that were not at Target, or Amazon.
Except the Jurassic Park Legacy.
Yeah, that one.
That was not a Target.
I think that's the only Kickstarter they did, and that was a disappointment.
That is. Yep.
And it was a big disappointment. It was a downer because they had good ideas, but they didn't. I don't feel that I know there was a lot of discussions inside there. I talked to people about it, and that they were not happy with the path because you weren't to really make those things click is you have to have things that just escalate, and the game was essentially done when the Kickstarter started. So that's not ideal, right? Like we actually had a full-on real copy of the game as the Kickstarter was going. The only thing I think that they ended up doing was like they did add some more figures and stuff like that, which was cool. But you really, all that stuff, that hype builds from like it's getting bigger, and I think that. I don't know that that's great because I feel it's often bloat. I'm the king of buying bloat. I'm into that Marvel United stuff, and I got hundreds of minis, and I'm going to get hundreds more. It's like, it doesn't net, and I buy in because I tell myself I'm not buying it, and then I go in all in it each time so far. So
It's like a Lincoln Tall set of games there.
I know. Well, I took a picture of it and tweeted it. I'm like, is this my game collection now? And that was just the 2 at the time. We now have this 3rd one coming, and it's a lot of stuff, and they keep getting bigger. They have the Galactus in the new one. It's going to be a giant box just for that expansion, not for the stretch goals.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to get up there. Do you see this grouping of games?
Yep.
That's all of the Marvel Zombicide.
Nice.
Bloated.
Do you have the Galactus in there?
Galactus is over there because I can't fit him over there. He's over there. I felt dirty. After I went all in on
come
that
on.
campaign.
I so wanted to buy that. I did not. That was the one I drew the line at.
I've actually played. I played the base game, and it's good. It's fun. It's light. It's fluffy. It's wonderful. I am never going to experience all of that content. Just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Why did I do this to myself? I'm crazy.
Well, let's talk. Since we're talking about playing games, let's start with people playing games. Hey, Candice, what have you played recently?
Oh, I'm starting. Okay. So I actually played a couple things that I want to mention. First of all, just very briefly, I finally played Captain Sonar for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Over the
With
weekend,
8?
with 8. I was in the mountains playing games with a bunch of friends. So we had 8. Someone brought it, and oh my gosh, that was so stressful, but it's such a cool game.
Yeah, it is.
And then and that was kind of inspired because right before that I played Challengers Beach Cup.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys recall, but like Derek taught me Challengers at BGG Con maybe 2022, I think. And it was late at night. It was just like a 2-player game, and I was kind of like, not my thing. It's fine. And playing this with 8 players was so fun. And so I finally feel like I get it. I get why people are really digging this game.
That is the report I heard, because I had the same reaction you. I thought it was fun, but when everybody's like, oh, but with 6 or 8, it's awesome. This is the Germans constantly. It's awesome. And so, I knew it was going to probably win the SDJ just because of that. Every response was like, well, if you can't play it with 8, well, but it's awesome. So I'm like, but I'm glad you had that reaction.
It was awesome because in the 8-player game with Beach Cup, you have 4 different play mats. So you have a light side and a dark side, and your card will tell you, hey, for your first match, you're sitting on the pink light side, and the next match you're maybe on the dark side of the mat on the blue mat, and so you got to play everyone, and then whoever has the 2 players with the highest amount of points at the end get to go head to head, and everybody just watches.
So yeah, I love high player count games. I mean, I'm a social gamer, right? That's what I want to do. I've certainly played 2-player games. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, high player count games and social games and party games I love. So Candice, add this, and Derek, add this to the list of those games we have to play, right? It sounds great when you're having 6 or 8 players and that's the optimal number. Yeah, I want to be in on this.
Yeah. I was like, this is one that, will stay in my collection because it's very light. You can teach it so fast, and it was just fun. So
did you play the Beach Cup version or the regular version?
Yeah. I played Beach Cup.
Because that's supposedly better.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. It's just card differences or something.
I don't know.
I certainly like the art better.
They have different factions. There's 6 factions in the base game. I think there's 6 in this. You use 5 in a game, so maybe they're more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Complicated, because usually you start simple and then you add the more complicated stuff for the expansion.
Right.
But us LA folks like the beach, so Beach Cup is going to be the way to go. I have a couple more to mention, and Florida. I have a couple more to mention, and this is kind of tied back to a couple things that came up. One, Eric, you were talking about multiple versions of games, and then we were also talking about D&D. So I bought this game. It got reprinted in 2021. Originally came out in 2016. I don't know when I first discovered it, but I was like, I want this game. So when it got reprinted, I got it. It's been sitting in shrink in my garage since probably 2021 or whenever I got it. And I finally, eventually I moved it in. It was still in shrink, maybe sometime last year. I'm like, I'm going to play this soon. But I finally played Tyrants of the
Underpants,
Underdark.
yeah.
This game is awesome, and
really?
so yeah, I'll tell you why in a minute.
Well, I got a story about that one too after you're done.
Okay. So this game, when you look it up in BGG, there's Tyrants of the Underdark, and then there's Tyrants of the Underdark board game, which is technically this version. It's just like a different box in the old version. had minis or something like that. And I think this has the like expansions. But I loved this game. So I already love deck building and area control. And this game is just so freaking like smooth and streamlined. And like my friends always are trying to play Clank. And I'm like, I feel like I'm tired of Clank. I liked Catacombs, but I just been burned too many times with the, like, I don't know, just the push your luck, the bad luck, you know, some things. So I just don't tend to want to play Clank anymore. But this game sits in that same weight range, but gives me more of like a war game. Like what's happening on the board is so much more exciting and spicy than Clank is. But again, it's very streamlined. It's like the deck building, like every turn is like super smooth. You have 2 kind of resources on cards, but then you have other card effects that you're playing with. And you're vying for mostly area control to score points, but you can take out little troops on the board. Troops are worth points. The first game I played of this, everybody had different strategies. You know, you have spies in this game. I went and put spies different places so I could kind of spread my influence around the board. Another player did a lot of promoting, and promoting is a cool thing because it allows you to cull your deck, but it doesn't just allow you to like cull your deck and get rid of cards. Every card scores at the end of the game, but there's a victory point value if it's in your deck, and then there's a higher victory point value if it's promoted. So as you're promoting, you're making the points more valuable for the cards that you're taking out of your deck, and you're refining your deck. But yeah, the turns are just like snappy. I played it twice now. It only takes about an hour and a half. So it's just like really smooth. Both games have felt completely different. And the other thing I love is that you play for your market deck of cards. You play with 2, they call them half decks, but like there are 6 of them. So you can mix and match these different combinations that are going to let you have like introduce different mechanisms into the game. Yeah. Anyway, this game is so awesome. Lincoln, what are your thoughts? Because like to me, this was like after I played El Grande and was like, wow, this is like a banger. Like I felt this is like definitely staying on my shelf. But what's your story?
My story is I got that game when it came out, 2016, sat on my shelf. Then we culled our collection and sent things to the BGG library for our charity sale. And that game went in it. And then I had a bunch of people tell me it was their favorite game and they were struggling to get it. So I contacted the library. I'm like, please hold that game for me. I'm not getting it to charity yet. And so we still haven't played it, but I've had so many great comments about it. I mean, I only just got it back like in May, I think, last year. So, but yeah, it was terrible because we were, you know, the good thing is we have to do the same thing. We have to call our library. We have to be realistic. Yeah. Believe me, Eric's, what was it that you called it, Eric, where you're looking, instead of anticipation, deal with what you have and let's not dream like we're going to have the time to do that stuff later. Right. And that is the reality of our collection. We have so many games, and we're never going to get to play them all. Mostly we play games once, and that is awful. And so we want to really narrow it down. So Nikki and I we've already started the tough task of like really getting serious, but we are going to do it. But we will be playing that game because everybody is going crazy about it. They struggled to get it. I think our friend Sebastian found a copy, like a clearance copy of the original edition. And I'm like, well, I have that. And then I went and looked. I'm like, no, I don't have that. I just sent it out. So because we sent it out for the May charity sale. And so I feel bad. Yeah. But we did give a lot of games, and we're going to give more.
Yeah. So. It's really, really good. So any other thoughts on that? Because I have two more games to mention.
Go for it.
2 more games.
I know. She's
2 more games.
Because I actually got to like play games recently.
I'm only talking about one game.
Yeah. I'm going to keep it short too. Yeah.
Good.
Lincoln, I'll just say you should give the game to a neighbor who wants it. And therefore, you can still play it, but it's not in your house.
We've done plenty of that. We've done plenty of that, for sure.
Okay.
If people like a game, I'm more than willing to give it to them because I know we'll get to play it again, for sure. I just wish we had some real neighbors playing games with, but that'd be really awesome.
So this next one is probably more up Eric's alley than anyone else. But it's Dinosaur Gauge. I think it just came out last year from Hollandspiel. And this is a game that's it's like a train kind of cube rail feel, but it's pick up and deliver. It's a little more of an economic thing. I'll just show you my canvas mat I have here. Really nice canvas mat, very colorful. All of the companies have dinosaur names: Rex Express, Triceratops, and Midland. But yeah, so basically, this game is like you're getting shares, but you're not just getting shares in the train companies. You can get them in like shipping routes. You can get them in factories, because factories you can produce goods, and you're doing pick up and deliver with the goods. But ultimately, you're trying to make the most money. And every turn, like the timer for the game is you draw a tile out of a bag, and you're going to cover up one of these water spaces. So you're trying to find connections. You're trying to build factories on the board, produce goods, send them to the cities that match the color. I played that twice, and it's really, I don't know. It's different. I like it a lot. I like that a lot. And it has like a cube rail kind of feel, but I think the choices of having these four different types of things you can invest in is really neat. So that's one to check out, Eric. I'll teach you. And then real quick.
Only because of the dinosaurs, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get where the dinosaurs. I don't get where the dinosaurs come into this game at all.
It's Hollandspiel. It's supposed to be weird.
18xx-ish kind of game.
I think it's
with dinosaurs.
I think it's more the artist wanted to draw dinosaurs.
I think the artist wanted to draw dinosaurs. That's got.
And also,
I'm
instead of a stock market, you have a stomp market. So there's a cool thing where different things
that's cool.
you do. You progress on this track, like the share value. And if you are able to increase a share value that lands on the same space as another company, it stomps it back. That's why it's called the stomp market. So anyway, it's pretty funny. It's fun. It's right up my alley. Huh?
Who designed it? Is it Amabel?
No, it was Mary.
Okay.
But with Amabel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems
Mary
like something
Holland and Amabel Holland.
Yeah. It seems like something Amabel will do, because it's just out there, which is fun.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. I like the let's just put it on its head kind of a thing. And that's really fun.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the first time we played it, we were like, that was weird. Let's play it again. And then I don't know if any of you guys have played this, but I won this at a white elephant kind of thing, Divinity Derby.
Oh.
This is the Kickstarter edition. So
it's not something I would win, that's for sure.
It has. I picked this. It has like painted minis. I guess that came with the deluxe Kickstarter edition. But this is, if you've ever played The Rich and the Good, this borrows this like shared card mechanism where basically you're the player to your left and the player, you share a hand of cards that you're going to draft and play with the player to your left. And you also share a hand of cards with the player to your right, and you put them in card trays. But this game is essentially a racing betting game. So you are controlling these, like there's a dragon, a sphinx, Pegasus. You are controlling how they move, but you're making bets on who's going to come in first place, or who's going to come in maybe first, second, or third, or who's going to come in last. And the neat thing is, there's a way when you play your cards, you have to play one from each side, and one of them has to be slow movement. The other has to be fast movement. So like maybe I take this card, I'm like, the Pegasus is going to move 2 slow movement. The dragon's going to move 1 or 4 fast or whatever. But some of the cards have tricky movement, which means they're like kind of cheating, so they can get a boost. But they're going to go in this pile. And at the end of the race, after you line everybody up and see like, oh, this one's in first, second, third, you draw 2 cards from this like cheaters pile, and you see if any of them were disqualified, which changes the rank. So they're like, the more risky moves you have, the more likely you are to be disqualified, which changes how you make bets. So super cool. It's a banger. Like I like The Rich and the Good a lot, but like I like this even better because it shares that shared card like drafting mechanism but the racing and betting is really, really fun. Okay, and then the last thing.
Wow, you're like three over.
I know, but I had to say this is a cool story. This is a cool story. I got my Keyforge Grim Reminders Game Found pledge, and so this was my first time since I've been into Keyforge getting to, like, I late pledged the new set Grim Reminders. It came with preview cards for the set that's coming out later this year, and I happened to get, so they give you this like Amber Skies note, and they're like, okay, here's a preview of cards that are in the upcoming set. I happened to get, so I got this card, yeah, this card, yeah. But then I scored a signed Richard Garfield card.
Nice.
And I think there were only like 250 of these. And I was just like, I was reading through, opening it, you don't expect to get it. And I was like, so that was cool. That's so I had to mention that. I scored a signed Richard Garfield
Well, I know
card.
that Derek is probably jealous then. So there you go.
Yes, he is. I got lucky.
That's what he gets for teaching you that
I'm
game.
Done. I'm
Derek
done.
has to edit something in there.
Yeah. Slice.
That's what he gets for teaching me.
What did you play?
See, I thought it was going to follow nicely after Divinity Derby, because the game that I was talking about is sort of similar.
Oh, I like this game.
So Split is a card game for 3 to 8 players. You're going to have a hand of cards, and on a turn, you're going to choose the card and put it either to your left or right. You are sharing a card pile with the person on your left and the person on your right. And the cards are either number and color cards. There's cards numbered 1 to 6 in 6 colors, and there's a couple of each. Or there are scoring cards where you have to meet a certain condition, like have the most 6s, or have at least 4 colors, or exactly 3 colors, or no 3s, or whatever it is. So you are setting up your own scoring conditions, and you are putting things into those piles that you are building. And there's a couple of central goals that any team can get. And ideally, you were going to add the score from the person on your left, add up the one on your right, and you multiply them together. And whoever has the highest score wins. So you're trying to be a good neighbor and set up everything well. And of course, you are playing a card, and then you pass your cards to the left. So you can put a card down. You know what your partner is getting. Hopefully they read what you played and add to that pile. But of course, they may play on the other side, because they are also trying to be a good neighbor and play on both sides. And it's pretty straightforward. Played it 4 times now. What I found really interesting is it's very straightforward, except it's not. So I brought it to a game group with a guy who had played only Scrabble. This one guy who came to our table, he'd only played Scrabble. So he played almost nothing. We taught him Ticket to Ride. And I thought this would be ideal because it's very straightforward. But lots of people, when they are learning games for the first time, they want to have some direction. What should I be doing? And initially, there's almost no goals. And they have no clue what to do because they're just adrift. They're like, I'm staring at all this stuff. And I'm like, what should I do? Why should I do anything? And you just have to be like, just put down something. And then you'll see what evolves over time. But certain people don't like that. Yeah. They can't handle that. So another game that Steven published was Fuji Flush, which is incredibly straightforward, incredibly easy to play. And my mother-in-law just like threw the cards and left the table. Like she was just like, I don't know what to play. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know. Why would I play one over the other? And the thing is, like, you learn sort of as the game is progressing. But that first step is just like, I feel stupid. I don't know what to do. I don't want to play a game where I feel stupid. So it's interesting how like an easy game is not easy for everyone. It's really an interesting barrier.
We as gamers have a completely different mindset from people who just don't play games or haven't played or have no frame of reference into our stuff at all. So 100% understand what you're saying.
That was our experience with Marvel United when Nikki was away one time. We played, my mom was here, so we played with Scott. And we thought, oh, this is easy, Mom. You just do this. And she never got it. We were like, we're just doing the turns for her. And I like, it's right here. You get the stuff from this one and what's on this card. And she just it was like too much for her. But she was a good sport and hung in there. But we definitely played her game. What'd you play, Steven?
All right, so here's my one game, Candice, my one game. And
hey, my game list is like your title list, buddy.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's true.
There you go. 1 point, Candice.
Steven was able to spit it out a little bit quicker, though. So
it's a new hotness. It's from Simon, just delivered off of their Kickstarter, and it's Dune.
Oh yeah, the Dune
War for Arrakis.
Wow, that looks amazing.
You just start here. Read that it says Dune, and under there War for Arrakis, and you have the artwork going this way. Oh, if I do this, it says Dune, War for Arrakis. So the evil Harkonnen side and the good,
love it,
air quotes, the Atreides side. So, but that's just the artwork and the box, which is beautiful. But this game,
it's the people that wore a ring, right?
Yeah. So right, so it's got comparisons to War of the Ring. I've actually jokingly called it War for the Dune or Dune of the Ring, but it is two of the three designers, Francesco Nepitello and Marco Laggi.
Yeah.
Two of the designers from War of the Ring,
minus the Ares guy,
minus Roberto Di Meglio.
Yeah,
War of the Spice.
Action dice selection, card driven, dudes on a map, war game. So that those words, which is this, also describe War of the Ring. But it very much stands on its own and does have some unique things about it, such as there's this sand riding mechanism that only the Atreides player can use. The sandworms are friendly to the Atreides and the Fremen. That's one side, and they're hostile toward the Harkonnens and the Carino allies. So you can put out these sand worm sign tokens, and all of a sudden the Atreides can ride these things all the way over to different parts of the board to make attacks, to go capture areas. It can be played with 2, 3, 4 players. With 2, it's House Atreides, House Harkonnen, with allies built in. And when you get 3 and 4 players, other players are going to play the Fremen or the Carino ally of the Harkonnen. Very asymmetrical game. As I mentioned, the sandworms already are really, really just cool. And I'm going to show you some stuff. Don't worry. The Atreides win condition in this asymmetrical game is... those jokes will happen in just a minute. Calm down, Eric. Don't worry. I'll make the jokes in a second. The Atreides win condition in this very asymmetrical game is to move up on the prescience track. And you do so in a variable manner each game. So you'll have a different set of prescience that you need to have. And it's 3 different colors that you might need: 10 green, 5 red, and 4 yellow prescience to win. And if you get that at the end of a turn, you win the game. And you get that via doing these interim goals that are out there in public. So even the Harkonnen player might be able to interrupt some of the stuff you're trying to do, so stop you. Also, by taking over these ecological testing centers that are on the board. Why do the Atreides care about ecological testing centers? I don't know. I know nothing about Dune. But this game is just good. The Harkonnens want to go up on the supremacy track, and they do that by taking over the Atreides Fremen sieges. I don't know what that word means, other than it's a little hut, and it's got a number underneath it, and you reveal it, and that's how many supremacy points they'll get if they take it over. Now, let's get on to the minis. The minis are amazing. First of all, just for the you're not going to be able to see these small ones, but this is a Harkonnen regular unit. There are like 3 different sculpts for this, but it's easy to tell the difference because the base is round on all of them, so it's very easy to tell the difference. Similar for the elite units and similar for the super elite units. Candice, that's different, right? There's no such thing in War of the Ring for super elite, but there are a super elite unit in this game. And then you got these cool vehicles. The vehicles of the Harkonnens. This is a harvester. This is an ornithopter. Oh, awesome. They're so pretty. And the carryalls, really, really big. But wait, there's more. Then there are the sandworms. Look at this sandworm. That's one.
Shai Hulud. Come on, man.
And then the Wild Maker, which is bigger. And Eric is smiling already because he knows, And then there's the old man of the desert. Yes, the 15-year-old in me immediately started making jokes about these worm-like things. But yes, of course I did. But all of these things look amazing on the board, and there are separate rules around each one of those things. There's 4 regular sandworms. There's 1 wild maker, and there's 1 old man of the desert, which you can play. It's just 1 optional rule that you can add to play with Old Man of the Desert. It's absolutely an amazing game. And it inspired me, just played it over the weekend with Roy Candice. This inspired me to start a new series on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, another plug. It's going to be called The Podfather Loves, ... And I'm going to put something in there very irregularly to do one of these Podfather Loves. And the first one, which will have dropped by the time this drops, is going to be Dune War for Arrakis. This is excellent. I've already predicted that this game is going to be my #1 game of the year, and it's February, right? So there you go.
I'm hyped.
I love this game.
I can't wait to get my copy. I backed this.
I can't wait to play it with you. Oh, it should be shipping you any second. I mean, I'm surprised you don't have it on the West Coast.
The West Coast was like the last batch, I think, that's going out.
Sure. Do you have a Dune popcorn bucket to go with it?
Oh, I know, that scary popcorn bucket. Looks like I'll take your hand off.
You should watch. If you have not watched, look up SNL Dune popcorn bucket.
That's pretty funny. I will go absolutely look that up. But I'm looking forward to, again, I mentioned that I am not a fan of the IP. I know the original movie from 1984, which is arguably odd. Weird. Maybe it's good. It's weird. Sting and Patrick Stewart. Very weird. And, of course, the new movies, the second part 2 coming out in only 3 weeks.
March.
The first part was great. Can't wait to see that. But I don't know any of these characters that are in this game. But the theme ends up coming out. Unlike that other Dune game that's a Euro that you just put a person down on the board, Candice.
Oh my gosh. Dune Imperium is amazing too.
Yeah, I know.
Dune Imperium is a great game. A great game with no theme. Great game, no theme.
Some people feel the theme, but it's great it doesn't matter.
Most games are abstract anyway. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a great game, Ken. We did this on the quad, Candice and I.
Yeah.
The problem with that game, Eric, is it's unsleevable. I mean, jokingly. It doesn't matter to me normally, but for game night it does. So I will be quick because everybody else was definitely strong. We played the art project, the ART project. Fantastic cooperative game from the Op and Lumberjack. Is it Lumberjack? I can't tell. It is. And it is amazing. It's Benoit Turpin, who did Welcome To, and Florian Serret, which I know of some of his games. I've played some of them, but I don't remember any off the top of my head. Fantastic art. Just beautiful, really fun, quite hard, and absolutely worth it. I also got to play, as I said, Dracula vs. Van Helsing. It's a 2-player game that's very simple. Again, beautiful art. Weberson Santiago. These two, Vincent Dutray, and there's so many great artists, but these guys are phenomenal. And we also played Daybreak. We actually played a lot of games. I'm cutting it really short, but we also played Daybreak, another cooperative game from Matt Leacock, and as I said before, Matteo Manapace. I believe that's the pronunciation. It is a great game that we completely just could not. It's like you're constantly questioning because you have to spend your cards. It's one of those games that you either spend the card or put it into play, and you're just doing everything you could possibly can to keep the cards because everything is generally pretty great, and you immediately regret playing. I just spent that card. I need that. It is so wonderful, and we really want to play it more because I feel it will only get better for us. Nikki and I were both thinking about it the following day. We braved the crazy rains here in Southern California. We stayed at home. Dave came here and we played it. It's really not that crazy a rain, but it is. The flooding is definitely the scary part. But we haven't had any troubles here yet. I think we had the most rain. We were like 10 inches of rain on Sunday or something like that. And
crazy.
Places around the world get that, but we're not built for runoff. That's really what the problem is. But anyway, I guess that's the show for February. Thanks to Eric and Candice and Stephen for joining me. And I hope you all have a great month, and we hope to see you next month. Take care, everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye.